From the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
All right, folks, good morning. Happy Wednesday for your Practitioner Brief. November 18th is the day today. A lot to cover on our Practitioner Brief, but before we do that, make sure you subscribe to our podcast right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the notification bell and subscribe. If you're listening, make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platform, whatever that is. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all the big ones. Also, Veteran November in full effect, folks. I've got a great episode today coming up with Rafael Nunez. I'm sure you guys are going to want to tune in to that one. It is a great episode. Yesterday I had that on Larcy Robertson, and I've got so many more. In fact, towards the end of the month, I'm going to be doubling up on some of these episodes over the Thanksgiving holiday, simply because so many people reached out, and I did not want to say no to most of these folks, and I wanted to bring their stories to you. Thank you for all the great feedback. By the way, you can get our Practitioner Brief on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. And now, let's get into today's Practitioner Brief. We have a lot of different things to talk about. So, some Apple apps on the macOS new Big Sur bypass content filters and VPNs. Multiple industrial control system vendors are warning of critical bugs. DHS cybersecurity czar Chris Krebs was sacked by the president last night. And more ransomware as a service operations seek affiliates. And now let's get right into our first story of the day, where some security researchers are blasting Apple for a feature in the latest Big Sur release of macOS that allows some Apple apps to bypass content filters and VPNs. Many claim it's a liability and can be exploited by threat actors to bypass firewalls, give them access to people's systems, and expose sensitive data. One Big Sur user who's on Twitter, Maxwell, but MXSWD, was the first to point at the issue back in October. Despite concerns and questions among many security professionals, Apple released Big Sur to the public on the 12th. Many people upgraded to the Big Sur over the last week or so, and this is one of the issues. Apple describes the data provider filter in detail. That's available on our website. I don't want to read it off to you here. Many were expecting Apple to fix the flaw before the release of Big Sur. That hasn't been done. But this has been a track record with Apple for some time, folks. We complain about something, they go, oh, yeah, right. And then they'll push an update a week or two later that really does patch that up. So we'll probably keep our eyes out for that. Apple really hasn't given an official statement about these claims, although the story has been trending. I got this off a threat post, but I've seen it on Bleeping Computer and ZDNet and many other spots. So Apple will respond at one point, and when they do, if I find that it's relevant to bring this back to you, I'll let you know. What's critical for me on this is I've actually held up. I'm a Mac user, obviously, as many of you guys know. I've held up updating to Big Sur until this issue is addressed. So I've stayed on old software for now until they actually address this, and I recommend many people do the same. Multiple industrial control system vendors are warning of critical bugs. So industrial control system firms Real-Time Automation and Paradox both warned of critical vulnerabilities on Tuesday that opened systems up to remote attacks by our adversaries. Flaws are rated 9.8 out of 10 in severity by the CVSS. And the real-time automation bug is traced back to a component made by Clarity. A Stack Overflow vulnerability was discovered in RTA's 49.9 ESENIP stack, all versions prior to 2.28, one of the most widely used OT protocols, according to the disclosure. Take two, according to the disclosure. Third-party code used in the property real-time automation component 499 ES Ethernet IP can be triggered to cause a condition ripe for a denial of service attack. It's been identified in 11 different devices and different stacks from 6 different vendors, and which are likely to be vulnerable to this type of attack. RTA, who also describes itself as an industrial control system for manufacturing and building automation, posted information about the vulnerability back in October. Security device maker Paradox also announced a critical bug, CVE 2022-5189er, impacting its IP150 internet module that created conditions ripe for a stack-based buffer overflow stack. According to Paradox, the impacted IP150 internet module is a LAN-based communication module that enables you to control and monitor your Paradox security system over a LAN or the internet through any web browser. While Paradox indicated that there are no known public exploits targeting the vulnerability, the company didn't offer any specific patches for either of those bugs. In lieu, there's several mitigation recommendations, including ensuring the least privileged user principle is adhered to and minimize network exposure for all control system devices and or systems, and ensure that they are not accessible from the internet. Many more bugs have been reported as well, folks. In the industrial control system space, we are flaws that have been made public, by the way, just so you folks know, over the course of this week has been Sensormatic Electronics, a subsidiary of Johnson Controls, and ICS behemoth Schneider Electric. Schneider reported 9 high-severity bugs in its interactive graphical SCADA system. And the Sensormatic bug CVE 2020-9049er impacts equipment and the American Dynamics Victor web client and software house Secure web client as well. CISA has issued a bulletin for this, asking people to really put in mitigation factors or patch if a patch is available. Many of these still do not have a patch available, folks. Patching ICS systems is so complex. It is extensive. A lot of it is hardware and bugs within a hardware that operates within a software. It's a lot more than just patching a software. So it's going to take, Apple will patch this vulnerability much quicker than it would take for an ICS organization to patch up some of these vulnerabilities, which is why mitigation is critical. And if you have vendors that are in the ICS space, that's part of your critical supply chain. I'm not talking about your electrical provider, folks, but I'm talking about a different aspect of the business. This would be a great time to work with them on mitigation and taking the initiative, because security is a team effort. And so it's critical for us to reach out and do that. DHS cybersecurity czar Chris Krebs was sacked yesterday, according to the president. There's been rumors that Director Krebs was asked to resign. At that point, acting DHS Secretary Chad Wolf did kind of push back on the president. And then last night, the president had notified the world on Twitter that much beloved Director Krebs, the first director of CISA, was fired. Partially due to the election, mostly due to the election, where Director Krebs claims that we've had a secure election and the president claims that there has been anomalies, some of which have come to light, although I don't know that you can blame those on CISA. I'm trying to be very even here, folks. I've met the director several times. In fact, I spent some time with him in Israel last year during Tel Aviv University Cyber Week, and I've seen him at many events and have been privileged to hear him speak several times. He is a nonpartisan patriot who is passionate about security, and a great loss for CISA. But at the same time, we have to acknowledge, folks, that this might shed light to the fact that when something remotely disturbing happens from a security perspective that hasn't been adjudicated yet, that hasn't been resolved yet. So we hear a lot of stories about Dominion and kind of their technology and so forth. And there's been alleged rumors of the connection between Dominion and CISA. Again, stuff that's really hasn't been proved yet beyond a reasonable doubt. And so, I'm trying to be very reasonable here. I'm sad to see Director Krebs go. It's not an easy day for me to actually say that, because I did really enjoy Director Krebs. In fact, we had him lined up to come on the podcast later this next month, right before the holidays, to talk a little bit about cyber and look back at the election and so forth. And now that he's out, I hope he'll still come on as a civilian and kind of join me in a conversation. But still not an easy day for us in the cyber community. Finally, I went a little bit too long on the shortest segment in my paperwork for today, but it is Director Krebs, and whoever replaces him will have very, very big shoes to fill. More ransomware as a service operations seek affiliate. Intel 471 has put out a very interesting ransomware as a service offering. It's on Data Breach today. I have the link available on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com, but essentially it shows all the big operators of ransomware as a service. Folks, RAS is a thing. I'll cover this story more extensively tomorrow, but the link is available on our website at cyberhubpodcast.com. Being mindful of time, folks, Veteran November later today with Rafael Nunez. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm James Azar. I've taken so much of your time today, but thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for listening. I do appreciate it. Thankfully, gratefully. So, Veteran November, folks, make sure to tune in and make sure to comment and let these brave men and women know. Send them a message and just thank them for their service. And if they inspire you, want to reach out to them, please do so. Okay, I'm done. That's it. Stay cyber safe, folks.
We love feedback, so make with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.